Good day, I'm Jackie Judd. In March, just 2 years after President Obama signed into law the most sweeping social legislation in decades, the Supreme Court will enter the fray. The justices will hear cases challenging the constitutionality of the Affordable Care Act, the healthcare overhaul law. Stuart Taylor, a contributing editor for the National Journal on Legal Matters, joins us to discuss what's at stake. Welcome, Stuart.
Nice to be with you, Jackie.
Put these cases in some historical context. How big a deal are they?
Very big, very big. For example, the justices have scheduled 5.5 hours of oral argument.
Over
it looks
3
like
days.
over 3 days. Looks like it's going to be 6 because the government has requested more time. Well, it's been 56 years since they've argued as many as 6 hours on a single case, and those were two historic cases in 1966, Miranda versus Arizona, and the Voting Rights Act case. And they've cut back on their other cases. They're only going to hear half as many arguments in other cases for the rest of the term, or at least in April, as they usually do, clearly to leave themselves time for all the writing they're going to be doing on this health care case. And then there's a huge influx of friend of the court briefs, probably on its way to being more than 100, maybe an all-time record, and those are just kind of the outward indicia of the court clearing the decks for a huge case.
You have read some of those many briefs, including, of course, what the federal government filed, what the states are filing. Does some of the language match the kind of historic moment that this is?
Yes, especially coming from the opponents of the law, the states and the other opponents, which say this, what the government is trying to do here is it would be a revolutionary expansion of federal power over the states, a historic attack on the sovereignty of the states, an expansion beyond even the very broad federal powers that have been recognized in the past, and way beyond anything the framers intended. The government more or less poo-poos these things and counters with a huge crisis in national health care, and this is the way the government has decided to fix it. Now, the government doesn't sort of predict doom and gloom if it's struck down. They're measured, but a lot of others who support the law are afraid that a court decision striking down this law could pave the way for a series of decisions striking down a whole bunch of big federal laws since the New Deal. There's one justice on the court who would like to do that, Justice Thomas. I don't know that there are any others.
So we will talk about the mandate, the expansion of Medicaid, but for the moment, the larger issue here is the role the government plays in individuals' lives. And it may impact not only the Affordable Care Act, but other legislation down the road?
That's for sure. The opponents of the law say if the government can do this, it could require everyone who can afford it to buy a Ford to help the national economy. It could require people to join health clubs or to buy broccoli in order to become more healthy. Now, nobody seriously says you could be required to eat broccoli, but you could be required to buy it. And so there are all sorts of scenarios of if the government can do this, it can do anything. Its power is unlimited. The government, on the other hand, says this is a unique case. We're using judicious powers to address a unique national health crisis, and therefore it doesn't pave the way to any great expansion.
At the 10,000-foot level, walk us through the issues related to the individual mandate and to the expansion of Medicaid.
Right. The individual mandate is a requirement that you either buy insurance if you don't already have it from your employer or pay a penalty. And the big question there is, does the federal government have the power to require people to buy a commercial product that they don't want? And it's never done that before. It's clear Congress has never done that before. The question is whether it can do that. In the other big issue is Medicaid, a huge Medicaid expansion that the states say, 26 states say, would cost them too much money and that they're being coerced into it, that they have no real choice but to go along and take what the federal government gives them and spend more of their own money, and that invades state sovereignty.
And that's the constitutionality? That's the constitutional question?
The constitutional question is whether it violates the 10th Amendment rights of the states to sovereignty and independence from the federal government.
Okay, we will go deeper on some of these questions about what's at issue in these cases in our next interview. For now, thank you very much, Stuart Taylor.
Thank you, Jackie.